Canada's population is no longer growing, and for the first time in modern history, it's actually shrinking. And that single fact is quietly reshaping housing, rentals, pricing, and investment decisions across the country, especially in British Columbia and here in Vancouver. According to Statistics Canada, Canada's population contracted by roughly 77,000 people in the third quarter alone. Even if that figure gets revised slightly, the broader reality doesn't change. Population growth has effectively gone from over 1 million people per year to zero, and in some quarters negative. That is not normal slowdown. That is a structural shift completely. The provinces most exposed to this change are the same provinces that benefited the most during the boom. Ontario and British Columbia both posted population declines in quarter three, roughly 0.4% and 0.3% respectively, marking the first negative annual growth rates ever recorded for these provinces. Alberta was the only province still growing, but even there, growth slowed sharply to about 1.7% year over year, down from more than 4% the year prior. This matters because population growth has been one of the primary engines behind Canadian housing demand for over a decade. When population growth collapses, housing demand doesn't just slow, it changes shape completely. To understand why this matters so much, you need to look at who is leaving. The federal government has been very clear about its immigration reset. Non-permanent residences currently represent about 6.8% of the population, and the government has stated its target is 5%. That implies hundreds of thousands of additional departures in the years ahead if policy stays intact. In the third quarter alone, roughly 340,000 non-permanent residences left Canada. These are overwhelmingly renters. They cannot purchase under the foreign buyer ban and generally do not qualify for financing even if they wanted to. At the same time, Canadians themselves are leaving. Quarter three saw over 41,000 permanent residents emigrate out of the country, the second highest quarterly outflow on record. So this is not just about fewer people arriving, it is about more people leaving, and the composition of those leaving matters enormously for housing here in Vancouver. Rental demand is the first domino to fall, and CMHC data confirms this is already happening. Canada currently has roughly 175,000 rental units under construction, with approximately 110,000 rental starts over the past 12 months. For the first time in history, rental starts now exceed ownership housing starts. Historically, rental construction tracked population growth at roughly 50%. Today, rental construction is running more than 200% above population growth, and that mismatch is unprecedented. The results are already visible in Vancouver. CMHC reports that Vancouver's rental vacancy rate has reached a 30-year high. Rents are declining across major metros, including Vancouver, Toronto, and Calgary. Incentives are rising, free rent, flexible lease terms, and concessions are becoming common again. This is what happens when record rental supply collides with shrinking renter demand. This matters for investors because the last several years of rental construction were underwritten on assumptions that no longer exist. Many of these projects were financed through insured programs that allowed loan-to-cost ratios approaching 95% with 50-year amortizations. These deals worked when population growth was surging and rents were rising. That environment is gone. As these projects complete over the next 12 to 24 months, pro formas are being tested in real time. Lower rents, higher vacancies, and rising operating costs compress returns quickly, and that pressure is already showing up in investor behavior. On the resale side, investor-dependent products are among the weakest segments in the country. Downtown condos, particularly in major metros, are sitting longer, pricing lower, and seeing demand evaporate. National housing data shows the Canadian House Price Index is now roughly 21% from peak, marking one of the largest housing corrections in modern Canadian history. This is not evenly distributed. Single-family homes behave very differently than investor-driven condos, but the direction is clear. Population growth was a massive tailwind, and its reverse is now a headwind. Land values are adjusting as well. Development sites that traded at peak values during the era of cheap credit and rapid population growth are now selling at deep discounts. Rising construction costs, higher development charges, and weaker end pricing mean land values must come down for projects to make sense. Density alone does not create value, economics still apply. A recent Vancouver site illustrates this perfectly. A prime development parcel sold for $15 million in 2015, resold for $25 million in 2018, and recently changed hands again for just over $10 million. That is a full round trip and then some. And the reason is simple. Input costs went up, end prices came down, and land had to absorb the difference. Population shifts also affect affordability dynamics. RBC Economics report that ownership costs as a share of median household income have improved for 7 consecutive quarters nationally, now sitting near 53%, but RBC is clear that this improvement is slowing rapidly and largely driven by falling rates, not structural affordability gains. In Vancouver and Toronto specifically, ownership costs still consume roughly 68% of median household income, and that leaves a very limited buyer pool and explains why demand remains fragile even after price declines. RBC has stated plainly that affordability improvements are now running on fumes. Mortgage data reinforces this caution. Equifax's latest credit report shows that roughly 1/3 of all Canadian mortgages will renew within the next 12 months. The average renewing borrower faces about an 8% increase in monthly payments, while roughly 1 in 4 households will see increases of 20% or more. Importantly, mortgage delinquencies remain relatively low, but non-mortgage delinquencies are rising sharply. Equifax shows that households under mortgage stress tend to miss credit card and personal loan payments first, not mortgage payments, and this pattern is now showing up clearly in the data. In British Columbia, consumer insolvencies have now surpassed levels seen during the financial crisis. Credit counseling requests are up nearly 60% year over year. These are not panic statistics, they are pressure statistics. Housing in Canada is fundamentally policy driven. Population targets, immigration rules, rental incentives, financing programs, amortization limits, and zoning decisions shape outcomes far more than sentiment ever could. For years, policy aggressively stimulated demand, but today policy is doing the opposite. Population growth has been intentionally slowed, rental supply has been accelerated, credit conditions remain tight, and there is no sign of immediate policy reversal that matters. For buyers, this environment rewards patience and selectivity. Value is emerging, particularly where investor demand has vanished and sellers are motivated. For sellers, strategy matters more than ever. Pricing, positioning, and expectations must align with today's buyer, not yesterday's headlines. For investors, the landscape has changed materially. Population growth can no longer be assumed. Rental demand must be underwritten conservatively. Leverage must be approached cautiously, and this is not an environment that rewards aggressive speculation. This is not a crash story, it's a normalization story driven by demographics, supply, and policy. The excesses of the last cycle are being worked off slowly and unevenly, and until population growth resumes meaningfully or policy shifts decisively back towards stimulus, this market is likely to remain slower, more disciplined, and far more selective than anything we saw during those boom years. Understanding that reality is the difference between fighting the data and working with it. And if you're needing any help, whether it's on the buy side or on the sell side in 2026, make sure you book that call with me. You can book it in the QR code below, and the link is in the description below as well. Thanks again for all your support. I'll see you in the next one.